Hello, this is Slavik Buyachko of AlaskaVideoShooter.com, and here's a short tutorial on how you can shoot better B-roll for your videos. Now, once you begin editing the interview in your video, you'll need to cover the cut, and that's where B-roll comes in. In a moment, you'll see the final video of Enzina Murari, a local Anchorage artist, along with a summary of all the B-roll shots and angles used. But first, here are some guidelines. When you arrive at your location, before you meet your subject, quickly shoot the exterior with a tilt or a pan or a diagonal combo. When you shoot your subject walking or moving, like them walking into your location, let them enter and exit the frame without following them with the camera. Now, here's an example of me following Enzina walking inside the gallery, but notice that she still exits the frame at the end. Lens changes take time, so try to get as many shots with your wide lens as you can before changing to a medium zoom lens. You can get an over and above the shoulder shot, low shot looking up at your subject, a tilt or a pan inside your space, and if you have a slider, grab a couple wide slider shots. Then when you change to your zoom lens, take a couple more slider shots before you put your slider away. Find a foreground, like a door frame, to slide into a reveal shot. Now that you have your regular medium zoom lens on, let's try to get as many different kinds of shots of our subject as we can. Always consider your background when framing a shot. So when you focus on an object or subject, look around quickly to see if you can maneuver the camera to include a good background. Avoid bright windows and try to shoot your subject with a lot of space behind them to increase the depth of field. Likewise, when you can, try to shoot with multiple layers in your frame, including a foreground and a background. Here's an example of some pictures of models on a runway. Not as good as a shot of the model photos in the background, with a rack focus to your subject in the foreground. And when you find a focal length and you focus your camera on the subject, take a moment to move into the image. You can do this with a tilt or a pan into your subject, like with a tripod, or you can move into your subject from being out of focus to being in focus. When you're handheld or on a monopod, you can also move your body slowly to create slight camera motion. And just like in our slider shots, shooting with a deliberate blurry foreground helps us focus on the subject and creates a nice distant perspective of us looking into an intimate moment. Try to avoid conversing or having a conversation with your subject while you're shooting them. That way, when you're placing B-roll over the interview audio, it's a lot easier to use shots where the subject isn't moving their mouth or talking to you. After you think you've gotten all your primary shots out of the way, look around for other interesting shots or angles that can add variety. For example, with a monopod, you can establish really high angle shots, or turn the monopod upside down for low shots that you can later flip in post-production. Most importantly, make sure to get at least 5 seconds per shot, preferably longer, before moving on to a different angle or a different focal length. But first and foremost, you're there to capture any important movement or action. So if you spot anything happening that you may not get a chance to shoot again, quickly focus and shoot it for at least 4 or 5 seconds without adjusting camera exposure or focal length, to make sure you get the shot even before considering any ideal aesthetic. Then, if you have more time, adjust the camera settings and shoot again, or keep shooting. The last thing you want is an important moment becoming unusable in the edit because you were recording while moving or while you were zooming or adjusting exposure or your white balance. Without further ado, here is the final video of Enzina Murari, local Anchorage artist.
My name is Enzina Murari, and I'm an artist. I've always loved fashion, and I didn't really explore garment making until Object Runway here 3 years ago. And I thought it was a really great opportunity to take my kind of love and appreciation for fashion design and garment making and make it more of an artistic expression. I'm not sure if the model comes first or the idea. I think it depends. It's pretty important to me to know who I'm working with and to make a connection with who I'm working with, because I really feel like in the fashion industry, models are hangers for the clothing. The model's supposed to be hidden and shapeless so that the clothing speaks for itself. And I don't believe in that philosophy when it comes to fashion making or dressmaking or garment making. I want it to be a holistic expression, and so I want the person who models it to be really specific based on my relationship with them, based on their personality, based on something that I think would work and express who they are. I'm really, really inspired by Alaska. I've been here 14 years, and I moved here when I was 19. And I credit my time in Alaska to really kind of figuring out who I was and definitely giving myself a voice as an artist. I think sometimes we move day to day just kind of in this robotic way, and we don't spend the time to really take in our environment, and so I like to do that in a much more direct visual way. I call back to the Alaska landscape. I do a lot of work with natural materials, so sometimes I will use wood or flowers or bark. So it's more than just going to the fabric store. My work is definitely experimental, and I think that I've taken a lot more risks than I would have when I was younger or when I was first starting out as an artist. So I think I like that. I like that people are surprised or, think that I'm doing something that's not ordinary.